Welcome, everyone, to the Monday edition of Fair Territory. Any other week, we'd probably be talking still about Nick Kurtz's incredible 6 for 6, 4-homer performance on Friday night. Any other week, we'd be talking about the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, the wonderful speeches that we heard yesterday. But of course, this is not any other week. This is deadline week, and here we go. Last night, interesting news developing. Seth Lugo, Kansas City Royals, reached terms on an extension. 2 years, $46 million, that will take Lugo into his ages 36 and 37 season. A lot of people thought Lugo might be a trade candidate, but the Royals have signaled all along that they are not interested in going the other way, in selling. Now, they haven't played all that great. Their offense is a bottom five offense. They're 4.5 or so out in the wild card race, but they've acquired Adam Frazier. They've acquired Randall Grichuk, and now they've solidified their relationship with Lugo beyond this season for 2 years and possibly 3, depending on how the options work out. Their situation right now is kind of perilous. Cole Ragans, is still on the injured list, as is Michael Lorenzen. They need Lugo, obviously, if they're going to continue to contend. So their thoughts on trading him were always lukewarm. They never wanted to do it. And the extension obviously sets them up well starting in 2026. All right, a lot else going on, obviously, in the trade market. A focal point, Arizona and the Arizona Diamondbacks situation. So early on, when they were talking about possibly being a seller, the Diamondbacks were indicating to other teams that they weren't going to trade both Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen. It would be one or the other. But as I reported Saturday, their thinking is changing. And now, because of the intense demand for starting pitching, both rental starting pitching and controllable starting pitching, they feel that if teams meet their price point, give them what they want, then they would trade both. Now, what they want to do, obviously, is clear the compensation that they would get back if they lost these guys as free agents after giving them qualifying offers. That's sort of a high bar, but not really for a starting pitcher. So Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen both could go. It will be interesting to see in the next few days if the Diamondbacks try to reach an extension with Kelly, the same way the Royals did with Lugo. Kelly is a guy who will be 37 next season. He's not going to crush it on the free agent market. So that's a guy who maybe would be open to such an idea. Lugo, it's interesting. Could he have done better on the open market than 2 times 23? Maybe. But again, at this age, it's a pretty good deal for a guy like him. So that's something to watch. And obviously with Arizona as well. Eugenio Suarez is going to go. We know that. The only question is where. So that's Arizona. And they're going to be a team like Baltimore that will be very active in the coming days. And then we have a team in Texas. A team that has struggled the entire season. I'm not talking about the Astros. I'm talking about the other Texas team. The Texas Rangers have been an immense disappointment to this point. What we've seen in the last, few weeks is a team that finally is playing to its potential. 6 straight wins. They swept the Braves over the weekend. An 8-1 homestand against Detroit, the Athletics, and the Braves. This is a team that finally is finding itself. And don't look now, but here come the Rangers in the AL West and in the wildcard races. So right now, the Rangers and the Mariners are tied for the 3rd wildcard spot. And both teams also are just 4 games behind the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros with 18 players currently on the injured list. Texas is going to be active. And as I reported the other night, they're going to be looking for a right-handed hitter and perhaps more important, high-leverage relievers. They're going to be one of many teams in the market for high-leverage relievers. We're going to talk more about that situation in the Inside Dish. So the Rangers, they're starting to see what they thought they were going to be finally coming to fruition. The Astros, with all of these crazy injuries, are a team that also figures to be active. And as we know, their owner, Jim Crane, likes big names. Who knows what that might mean? Eugenio Suarez would be a possibility for them, and the Cubs and all these other teams as well. So this is a division to watch in the coming days. It's going to be quite interesting to see what each of these teams does. The Mariners have made their move already. One move, Josh Naylor. Jerry Dipoto, their president of baseball operations, has also said that they want to add a high leverage reliever as well. Pause if you don't want me to keep repeating this. And the Mariners, also could add a third baseman. They could be a team for Suarez and have said, or indicated at least, that they want to be a team for Suarez. So that is the AL West. Another interesting scenario there. And finally, I want to talk about the National League wildcard race because I heard something really interesting on Saturday morning. And it was an executive from another team, a team that's not involved in the race, saying, hey, why aren't the Reds and Giants pushing? San Diego in that third wildcard spot is vulnerable. And let's look at the standings, and I'll show you what I mean here. The Padres have been a really good team for quite some time now, but this year, after that 14-3 start, they're a sub 500 club. They're 43-46. Here are the standings in the NL wildcard race. All right, Chicago and Milwaukee tied for the top spot and tied, of course, for the National League Central lead. Then Philadelphia. So it's one of those two, Chicago or Milwaukee. Philadelphia in the second spot pretty comfortably. And then San Diego. San Diego's lead over the Reds is 1 game. Over the Giants, it's 3 games. Now, when I wrote this a couple of days ago, that lead over the Giants was 1, but they just got swept by the New York Mets. They have lost 9 of 11. They are a team that, with Rafael Devers, is only 13-21. So who knows what they do, but the expectation is that they're going to buy left-handed reliever, left-handed hitting second baseman, or a second baseman, period, something along those lines. And they are still waiting to play better ball than they have, at least with Devers. And then the Reds. The Reds are right there. And this is another team that a lot of people at the start of the season, including myself, thought was going to be quite competitive. And they've won 4 straight. They've won 10 of 14. They too, kind of like Texas, are kind of playing the way we thought they were going to play. So I expect them to be active. They are one of the teams also on Eugenio Suarez. So all of these machinations are going on right now as we look at the NL wildcard race. And the Padres in August, 13 games against both the Giants and Dodgers. They play 7 against the Giants and 6 against the Dodgers. So this is going to come to a head at the deadline because, as I wrote the other day, the Padres general manager, AJ Preller, we know who he is. We know what he wants to do at the deadline. He wants to be active. He wants to do some things. And the problem he faces, according to this rival executive, and something that we've actually seen develop over the last year or so, is that financially, he might not be in the same comfortable position he's been in recent years. And from a farm system standpoint, he's not quite as deep as he was either, though he does have prospects, more prospects than perhaps he gets credit for. And he always seems to come up with guys to trade at the deadline. So that is going to be something to watch, how the wild card race shapes up, what Preller does, what the Giants do, what the Reds do. Hey, what all 30 teams do. That's what we're watching. That's why we're paying attention here at the deadline. We'll have more with the inside dish and a specific focus on the bullpen market after this.
That's if I'm new to card collecting and I'm looking for the safest, most trusted way in the game to acquire cards or to buy a card, but not go through a ton of work where I'm going to the shows, I'm going online doing auctions. I want it all in one place. I'm going to
Arena Club. It's all in one place. You know you're getting a good price, whether you're buying it or you're selling cards. If you're new to it, you don't want all the other crappy cards. You can get the ones that you want. You can start your collection. And if you get them on Arena Club, your collection will look boss.
That's right. And may I mention, they also have Pokemon cards in those slab packs that we talk about every week. You can rip a pack for as low as $25 and hit on a card that's worth tens of thousands of dollars because every pack has grails that are at least 20x the price of the pack. So get involved at arenaclub.com/foul. Use the code FOUL to get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase.
All right, time now for the Inside Dish, the part of the show where I talk about a story I've written, about a trend in the game, about the trade deadline, about maybe all of the above. And I guess today qualifies as an all of the above day. Now, I've been writing a lot, as you guys have followed along, I'm sure. Well, I hope. And my column today is about the bullpen market. And it's about this interesting conundrum that teams face when assessing what they want to do with relievers. Now, as we know, relievers are always in demand at the deadline. Teams are always trying to fortify their bullpens. And we know also that the prices for relievers can be rather high. Now, relievers are valuable. There's no question about it. But relievers also are volatile. And this is kind of where this column comes into play here. So, teams essentially that are in the market, the contenders that want bullpen help, they're facing a choice. And the choice is this: do you go and overpay for one of the controllable late inning weapons, guys like Mason Miller, Emmanuel Clase, Joan Duran, Griffin Jacks? They're all under control. David Bednar is another one. Or do you prefer to pay less for a rental, a guy such as Ryan Helsley? Robert Suarez would also qualify because the expectation is that he will decline his $2 $8 million club options at the end of the season. Actually, they're player options. So Suarez has the ability at the end of the season to exercise two $8 million player options, one for 26 and one for 27. The expectation is he will not do that. He leads the major leagues in saves. So do you pay the bigger price or do you pay the smaller price? Now, the problem here is that with control, club control over relievers, it's kind of a mixed bag. Because yes, teams always crave club control. We hear it constantly, right? But relievers are so volatile, so prone to fluctuate year to year, even month to month, that maybe additional years of club control is not as desirable. Maybe it matters less than it does than with more stable performers. A starting pitcher that hope will take the ball every fifth day, and position players whose performances are much less subject to fluctuation. Yes, they go up and down, but generally the back of the baseball card does speak volumes with position players. So that's the choice. And if you're a team that wants to pay less for a reliever, that you don't want to get involved with something really where you're giving up multiple prospects and top prospects for a controllable type, well, yeah, that's great, but there's a shortage of the available rentals that are on the market. And I want to show you here just what I mean by that. Let's take a look at the rental relievers who are potentially available. I'm talking mostly here about late inning guys that will close out games. Helsley, I mentioned. Suarez, I mentioned. Kyle Finnegan, he's in decline somewhat. Wasn't even traded last year. And then Kenley Jansen. Kenley might be traded, but who knows what the Angels are going to do. Artie Moreno, their owner, is unpredictable at this time of year. We see it every season. So those are really only the rental options. And I forgot one on that list, Raisel Iglesias of the Atlanta Braves, who is a guy that has some underlying numbers that are okay, but his performance has been wildly inconsistent. So Raisel Iglesias, maybe you want him, but that's a risk. Then again, the controllable relievers, maybe less risky in your mind because of their performances, but again, you're going to pay a higher price. Now let's look at the list of the top controllable relievers. And I might be missing one or two, just relax. Mason Miller of the Athletics, mentioned him, Clase, Duran, Jacks, and Bednar. These guys are all really good. Dennis Santana of the Pirates is another one. And the Rockies have a trio of guys that they're actually listening on and may even trade. Yes, the Rockies, they're awakening from their, decade-long slumber when it comes to trade time. So those guys are going to be rather costly. Mason Miller, 4 additional years of club control. Emmanuel Clase, I believe, is 3, and those are at below market rates, so Cleveland can certainly afford him. And then Jackson Duran each have 2 additional years, and Bednar and Santana 1. So you're paying for, yes, that club control, the additional time that you will have with those players. So the game of chicken is on. And the staring matches that take place every year at the deadline are fully commenced. Because with a 3-day period now in which this will all take place, 3 or 4 days, I should say, you're going to see things happen or not happen. One of the issues here is that Cleveland, the team that holds Clase, and Stephen Kwan, another player in demand, is notoriously disciplined at the deadline. Some teams would say notoriously difficult Andy McCullough has a great story in The Athletic today about the personalities of the GMs involved at the deadline and how some other teams, refer to Cleveland as the Cleveland grind machine because they grind you down in trade talks. So Emmanuel Clase, yeah, maybe you can have him, but Cleveland's not going to waver from its price. Minnesota and Pittsburgh also not known for being wheeler dealer type teams. So that too is a factor here, how available these pitchers are actually going to be. Minnesota also has Joe Ryan, a starter with 2 more years of control. So this is all coming to a head now. And let's look at some of the teams involved too, because this is interesting as well. All right, the Dodgers, perhaps the most interesting team. Here's a club that spent more than $100 million on free agent relievers last offseason. Blake Trinan, Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, and yet they're still looking for bullpen help. Amazing. Now, they have some guys coming back from injuries. Trinan is one. Scott will be back as well. Michael Kopech. But the Dodgers are a team that is looking for bullpen help. Will they pay the price for one of these guys? Well, they've got the farm system to do it. They've also got the oldest position player roster in the game, so maybe they're starting to feel like the window's not closing just yet, of course, but it's shrinking a little bit. Maybe they want to play in that market. Detroit Tigers. Now, their problem is with regard to some of the available controllable types, these guys are in the same division, the ones with Cleveland, the ones with Minnesota. Detroit, though, is something like 28th in bullpen strikeout rate. They need swing and miss in their bullpen. The Yankees, they would want a controllable reliever because they're looking at Devin Williams and Luke Weaver possibly leaving in free agency. And as we continue on here, you can look at other teams as well. The Mets, the Phillies. We know the Phillies are not going to stop with David Robertson. And the Blue Jays, a team that is in the midst of a very special season, a team with a team president, Mark Shapiro, who is in the final year of his contract, a team that has not won the World Series since 1993 and is desperate to do something big again. The Blue Jays need bullpen help as well. So all of these teams are going to be in the mix for all of these players, and we're going to see which ones are willing to take the risk of perhaps overpaying for a controllable reliever, and which teams will take a risk the other way and not do that, and maybe do what the Boston Red Sox did last year, acquiring Luis Garcia and Lucas Sims, 2 moves that clearly were not enough. They went on the cheap. They checked the boxes, they got the relievers, but they didn't get to where they wanted to go. So it all comes to a head. Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll know then the truth. We'll know then which teams were willing to pay and which teams said, we're not going there. Stay with us. Grillin Ken is next.
Kratz, at some point, we're going to laugh about how healthcare was so reactive and not proactive. And we're starting to change that with Superpower. They believe every human has 100+ year potential, and they're here to help you get there. I'm a big believer in this. I just started the journey, so I'm excited about it. And what do you think?
As a player, you're always looking ways to improve yourself, improve your health. And this is an easy way. Superpowers made it way easier than when I was playing. You had to go get all these lab panels, and it was a long, drawn out, expensive process. But now with Superpower, so this is awesome for me. I'm excited about it.
They'll send a licensed professional to your home, or you can visit a nearby lab. For a limited time, the FT fam can get $50 off an annual Superpower membership by using code FOUL at checkout. Just head to superpower.com and use code FOUL to get our exclusive discount, your biology decoded, your blueprint activated with Superpower. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and please support FT and tell them we sent you.
BetMGM is giving you the chance to win a prize every day during the baseball season. Step into the batter's box for BetMGM's Swing for the Fences free-to-play game. Visit the BetMGM app to access the game, and you'll score a prize if you hit a single, double, triple, or home run. Strikeout? No problem. Try again tomorrow. Gambling problem or concern? There is help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, time now for Grillin Ken. Let's get to your questions. First one comes from Michael Vega, who asks, out of Beatty, Acuna, Vientos, and Mauricio, who do you think will be traded? And if you were the GM, which one would you trade? Michael, this is an excellent question, and it kind of strikes to the heart of the matter with the Mets. They're in a really good spot with these guys. They've got, for a change, actually for the first time in a while, a deeper farm system. And it's not just these infield types, it's some pitching as well and some others in their farm system. Now, these players that you mentioned all are in the majors or have been in the majors at some point in recent times. It seems that Beatty and Mauricio are the choices at third base currently. I would say Acuna is perhaps the most likely to go. Vientos, yes, the Mets could trade him. His value's down. I saw the report about the White Sox wanting Mark Vientos for Luis Robert Jr. I would not do that. Luis Robert Jr., you're not going to pick up his $20 million option, most likely. Mark Vientos, too high a price to pay. But it is going to be interesting to see the Mets over the next few days with needs in center field, starting pitcher, bullpen for sure, how they kind of sort through what they have. The good news is they've got quite a bit, and they've got some things they can deal with. All right, let's go to the next question. This one comes from GG206, who says, Rays go light sell, fire sale, or stand pat, you mean, and hope they get hot again in August, September. The Rays have not played well. They just got swept by the Reds in Cincinnati, and they are a team that has really struggled. I believe it's 6-16 in the last 22. They're going to sell, I believe. Now, a light sell, yeah, it could be a light sell, certainly. But I have heard in recent days and reported this, that they are softening on the idea of possibly trading Brandon Lau, who still is on the injured list, and even Yandy Diaz, a first baseman that would be in demand, certainly in Boston and in other places as well. They could trade Pete Fairbanks. They could trade Zach Littell. They could trade a bunch of different people. And once they do that, once they say that they're going to sell or decide that's the direction they're going in, I would expect it would be a heavier sell than light. They are very decisive. We saw that at last year's deadline. They went nuts. They sold pretty much everyone. I don't know that they do that. I don't know that they want to do that, but the way the team is trending, I don't know that they have much choice, but at least to entertain all of those possibilities. All right, next question. This one comes from Rally Squirrel, who asks, what are the odds the Cardinals also sell controllable players like Jojo Romero or Brendan Donovan? Now, Jojo Romero is getting quite a bit of interest and should be getting quite a bit of interest. Left-handed option in a market very thin on those types. Danny Coulomb from the Twins is another one. Brendan Donovan is a guy that they're also getting pushed on, and teams would love to have Brendan Donovan. Guy can play all over the place, good offensive player, really a quality guy, almost this year's Tommy Edman in some respects. I don't know that the Cardinals will trade him. Romero, I think they might get pushed to the point where, yes, the threshold for trading him is met. Donovan, in John Mozeliak's last year as president of baseball operations, I just don't know that they're going to do that. Heimblum's taking over, and I don't know that he's going to want them to trade a guy who really can be a centerpiece for them going forward in Brendan Donovan. All right, one more question. Let's go to, I can't even read this handle. Noto Whale, I guess as it is. Ken, will Gino Suarez thrive with the crew the last couple of months? He's coming to Milwaukee for sure. I like your confidence. Of course, I wrote last week that this is something the Brewers should entertain. Do I expect them to get serious for Eugenio Suarez? We see how the Brew Crew operates. And as I kind of wrote, who am I to question them? Because every year I say they should do this, that, and the other thing. They trade this, that, and the other guy, and yet they come out and still contend every single season. That said, in seriousness, yes, they should trade for Eugenio Suarez. They need pop in that lineup, and the left side of the infield is where they are weakest. Durbin has done a great job. No question about it. Do you expect him to be, I don't know, Scott Rowland for the final 2 months? No, you don't expect that. So I would think the Brewers would be in the mix. They certainly need bullpen help as well. Their guys have been used very frequently, and at some point they could wear down. But at the same time, the way they have operated in the past is very restrained at the deadline. They're not a team that makes big moves. We've seen them make big moves the other way. The Josh Hader trade foremost among them. But as I wrote, Mark Attanasio, their owner, it's his choice. And it's his choice how much he wants to spend. Their attendance is down a little bit. Does he want to increase payroll, or does he want to just kind of, as I said, check some boxes, acquire some players, but not high-end players. They're in a position where they should be looking for high-end players, but I just don't know that the Brewers are going to do that. All right, that is it for today's show. We will be back Thursday. Now, it will be a little bit different this week. The show we're going to do Thursday is not going to be at 12:30 Eastern, the one I do with Olava Rizzo. This one will be post-deadline. I can't give you a time yet because it's going to be so crazy, and I'm going to be picking myself up off the floor and trying to be coherent. But it will be after the deadline. Myself and Olava Rizzo. Have a great week, everyone. Enjoy the deadline. It's going to be a lot of fun.